Hello, today I want to show you the Winsor & Newton Artists Oil Colour range. In 1892, Winsor & Newton were not only dedicated to making stable and permanent pigments, but they were also the first producer to publish the composition and the permanence of their colours. I'll start with Winsor Yellow. It's a warm, semi-transparent yellow and part of the yellow Hansa group of modern pigments developed in the early 1900s and named Winsor Yellow in the 1950s. At the end, I'll add some titanium white to these colours to show how excellent their tinting strength is. Also from the Hansa group is Winsor Yellow Deep, a clean, bright yellow pigment. Here's Winsor Lemon, a clear, bright yellow colour with excellent tinting properties. This is Winsor Orange, a single pigment, semi-opaque colour with excellent mixing qualities. Winsor Red is permanent and light-fast, a warm mid-range red with orange undertones. Winsor Red Deep is a wonderful deep crimson red, also permanent and light-fast. Here's an interesting one. Winsor Violet Dioxazine is a vivid mid-shade purple pigment, but when undiluted it can be used as a deep black. It's a transparent coal tar pigment introduced to the range in the 1960s. The following colours are made up from a modern pigment called phthalocyanine, to replace the unusable or hazardous pigments previously used. For instance, in 1822, genuine emerald green originally contained deadly arsenic, but this modern non-toxic version, Winsor Emerald, closely matches the original colour, a bright, clean, opaque emerald green. Winsor Green Yellow shade is a brilliant transparent green pigment with a yellow undertone. Winsor Green Phthalo is also a brilliant transparent green, but with this lovely blue undertone. Winsor Blue Green shade is a deep, intense blue with a green undertone you can see here. And finally, this is Winsor Blue Red shade, which is a deep, intense blue with a red undertone. The Winsor range has excellent tinting strength, so here I'm mixing with titanium white to create beautiful tints. As you can see, there is a dramatic difference between the mass tone and the undertone and tinting. I hope you've enjoyed exploring these colours with me.
I'd like to show you the different whites and their characteristics and what they would look like when you would use them. So here's titanium white, which is the most opaque white. As you can see, it allows very little of the undertone through. And then here we have zinc white, which is more transparent and cooler and allows just a little of the tone through. And here we have transparent white, which is obviously far more transparent, making it really suitable for mixing with other colours. And here we have underpainting white, which may not be so noticeably different from some of the other whites, but it certainly is in its drying speed. It's much faster and therefore very good for underpainting. And then we have iridescent white, which has got a really nice pearlescent sheen to it. It's quite transparent, and when you mix it with other colours, it gives it a really good, strong iridescence. And then finally we've got flake white, which is the hue. So it's not as toxic as the original, and it's got a really lovely warmth to it, but without having any colour added to it, so that wouldn't affect your palette in a way that you wouldn't want. And hopefully this will inform your palette. By adding a bit of Mars Black, which is a nice neutral black, you can see the characteristic of titanium white. And by adding Mars Black to zinc, you can see it's not as pale. It's got a lighter shift because zinc is slightly more transparent, and you can see it's got a nice cool tone to it. With transparent white, you can see that the shift is even less and gives you a really good strength still. With the underpainting white, you can see you've got nice strong opacity. Mixes really well again with the Mars Black. With the iridescent white, you can see there's a pearlescent sheen that's added to the Mars Black. And with flake white, you can see the warmth really coming through when you mix it with the Mars Black. The Mars Black really defines the different characteristics of each of the different whites. And hopefully this will inform your palette.
On the color chart of Winsor Newton Artist Oil Color, you'll find 5 types of black, and all have their own particular properties, which offer the painter a variety of options when using black in an artwork. Straight out of the tube, we call this mass tone, you may not instantly notice the differences, especially because black is a color which absorbs all light. But take a closer look and we will see that one may be more matte than the other. When squeezed out of the tube, you notice a difference in rheology or flow. When we scrape the different blacks over a canvas board, making a thin paint film, it reveals an undertone in each black. Let's take a look at 5 different blacks. First, carbon blacks, which are ivory black and lamp black. Carbon blacks are opaque and in oil paint form very slow drying and therefore less suitable for underpainting. Ivory black, known as PBK9, was the workhorse black for artists, and until the development of Mars Black, it was the best black artists had for oil paint. Ivory black is one of the darkest blacks. It's semi-transparent with a brownish undertone. Because of its moderate tinting strength, it's a good all-purpose black for mixing and tinting. For example, mixing it with yellows for landscape greens. Rembrandt used ivory black. Lamp black, or PBK6, is slow drying and has a bluish undertone. It's a more opaque color and is stronger in its tinting strength than ivory black, so better for mixing and tinting. Mars Black, or PBK11, is a neutral, fast-drying, more opaque black, which is cool in its mass tone, with a brownish undertone, making tinting and mixing a little warmer and drying to a very matte finish. Mars Black is the warmest of the 5 oil color blacks when used thick or thin. It's the best black to use as an underpainting color because of the fast-drying properties. Perylene Black, PBK31, and only developed in 1948, is a pigment with a strong green undertone. It's a synthetic organic pigment, not carbon or iron oxide based like all the other black pigments, but another derivative of hydrocarbon. Perylene black is slow drying and transparent. Blue black is a mixture of ivory black, PBK9, and ultramarine, which shows clearly in the undertone. Another way to check the undertone is to mix with zinc white. Why not go experiment yourself and find out which black suits you best? Thanks for watching.
Hello, today I'm introducing metallic colours in Winsor & Newton's Artist Oil Colours range. There are 7 different paints in this range. The colours are pewter, silver, bronze, copper, gold, Renaissance gold and iridescent white. As you can see, I prepared a canvas board in 2 colours to show how these look on a light and dark surface. These oil colours are fantastic used straight out of the tube. First, here is pewter, then silver, and bronze, a metallic with a hint of green. Now copper, a warm colour with an orange tone. There are 2 types of gold. This gold is bright and vivid, while Renaissance gold is warmer and richer. And finally, a lovely iridescent white. As you can see, these metallics reflect light beautifully. Now, if you would like to thin the colours, you can mix them with solvents, mediums, or artists' oils that are compatible with oil paint, such as Sansador, Liquin, or linseed oil. Today I'm using Liquin. You can create a transparent glaze with Liquin, and it will dry more quickly than using a slower drying medium or oil. Here is a glaze using the silver colour. And now one of gold. Iridescent white works particularly well over the dark colour, or, when painted directly over a light colour, it will add a pearly sheen. I hope you enjoy experimenting with these metallics and that they become a useful addition to your regular palette. Hello, today I'm going to demonstrate the beautiful properties of Indian Yellow and Indian Yellow Deep from the Winsor & Newton Artists Oil Colour range. Indian Yellow was originally created by feeding cows a diet of mango leaves and collecting the urine they produced, which had a unique yellow colour. It is an incredibly luminescent colour, so it's no surprise that the English artist J.M.W. Turner, known as the Painter of Light, used Indian Yellow. To start, these are the colours straight from the tube. This is Indian Yellow. This is Indian Yellow Deep. As you can see, Indian Yellow is an energetic yellow pigment with a clear brilliance. Indian Yellow Deep has the same vibrancy of colour, but with a slightly darker, richer tonal value. Now I am mixing in Sansador, a low odour solvent used to dilute oil colour during painting. I'm using a clean brush to demonstrate. I'm adding more solvent and wiping my brush occasionally to show the range of the colour. The more Sansador you add, the thinner your paint consistency will become, but you have to be very careful not to use too much because it will weaken your layer of paint. Finally, to demonstrate the translucent qualities of Indian Yellow and Indian Yellow Deep, I will use bismuth yellow as a ground colour and show how Indian Yellow and Indian Yellow Deep act as a glaze over the top to create tone and depth. Bismuth yellow is a bright opaque lemon yellow with excellent covering properties. Here the paint is totally dry, providing a ground of the colour ready to glaze. Here is a layer of Indian Yellow mixed with the Sansador. And here is a layer of the Indian Yellow Deep mixed with the Sansador. The translucent qualities of the yellows on top act as a lovely glaze and can be a great addition to your painting practice. I hope you found this demonstration useful. Hello, today I'd like to demonstrate Cerulean Blue, one of my favourite colours from the Artists Oil Colour range. Here is a sample from our archive, and this is a modern sample of the Cerulean Blue we use today. Cerulean Blue is semi-opaque and bright due to its highly refractive particles, but it doesn't react to light or chemicals, which makes it permanent and reliable, invaluable for artists. Now I'm going to show you the range of tonal values you can find with Cerulean Blue when mixed with these other colours: cadmium green pale, indigo and titanium white. I'm going to add a medium I use in my studio. The recipe is 1 part cold-pressed linseed oil to 3 parts Sansador, a low-odour solvent. Here is cerulean blue on its own. Now I'm going to mix it with an amount of cadmium green pale. This is a colour with strong tinting qualities. As you can see, it's a great choice for increasing the opacity of cerulean blue, and you can create a dramatic shift in the colour, depending on how little or how much you add, of course. Now I'm going to add indigo, a transparent blue which will impact both the colour and opacity, making the new colour less opaque. Indigo is a great addition to your palette. It mixes well with other blues to create subtle changes. Finally, by adding an opaque titanium white, you will clearly increase the opacity of the colour while retaining cerulean blue's brightness. I hope you enjoy exploring the range of tones that can be achieved with cerulean blue. Today we have taken a book from our archive to look at emerald green. As you can see, Mr. Winsor used this book in the Winsor & Newton factory during the 1800s. The original emerald green pigment was banned in the early 1900s due to its highly poisonous arsenic content. The contemporary Winsor emerald recreates the same brilliant blue-green impact of the original without the toxicity. I'm going to demonstrate a couple of ways in which you can use this colour, firstly on its own, and then with other colours. I will be using sap green, permanent green and titanium white. Here is Winsor emerald with a solvent I like to use, Sansador. I mix 1 part Sansador to 2 parts pigment to increase the fluidity. I'll mix this solvent with all the colours I'm using today. I hope this demonstration will be of particular interest to artists who wish to explore using a coloured ground as a starting point for a painting. Now I'm adding sap green here. It has a beautiful transparency and will add a yellow tint to Winsor emerald. When permanent green is added, it gives a strength to Winsor emerald and is extremely light, fast and permanent. Finally, I'm adding titanium white to Winsor emerald and permanent green to show you a softer tonal value. As you can see from this range I mixed here, you can achieve a variety of fantastic greens with Winsor emerald when mixed with Sansador, another green or a white. I hope you enjoy experimenting with this lovely colour. Hello. Today I'd like to show you how to use manganese blue hue from the Artist Oil Colour range to build up layers of colour. I'm working with a recipe that is a staple in my studio. I use a mixture of the low odour solvent Sansador and cold-pressed linseed oil. The proportions I prefer are 6 parts Sansador to 2 parts cold-pressed linseed oil, but you can vary the quantities. I store mine in an old jam jar to use it later as well. I'm going to start now with a base layer on a board divided into 4 areas. Manganese blue's use as an artist's pigment ended when barium manganate production stopped worldwide in the 1970s. As a result, this colour was no longer available. Today, Winsor & Newton expertly formulate a manganese blue hue, offering a safe and sustainable alternative. Now I'm going to add another layer to the first layer. Manganese blue hue is transparent with a greenish azure blue colour. You can use it straight from the tube or mix it with a medium suitable for thinning oil colours. I will add a third layer and a final fourth layer. This is how to build up layers to develop a richer colour. You can develop opacity with any transparent colour in this way. I hope you found this video interesting.
Prussian blue is one of the first synthetic organic pigments, accidentally discovered by a scientist named Heinrich Diesbach while he was trying to develop a synthetic version of carmine red. Prussian blue is one of my favorite dark tones to use and a very powerful color. It's perfect for creating your own blacks by adding burnt umber. When I apply it to the canvas, you will notice the deep mass tone. Prussian blue has the highest light fastness rating, and because of its transparency, it's very useful in glazing. Look when I add Liquin Original to Prussian blue. You'll see a stunning and intense blue glaze. So hopefully you can see now why this is one of my all-time favorite colors. Prussian blue is so dominant it brings contrast to a very thick and steep paint layer. But take care, Prussian blue can also be destructive. It can ruin a perfect mixture on your palette very easily. On the palette I've put a significant amount of Winsor & Newton Artist Oil Color, titanium white, cadmium yellow and cadmium red, all very strong colors. I'm also using a little bit of Liquin Original as a medium. Now watch what happens when I add just a tiny amount of Prussian blue. A massive color shift, and the blue has completely polluted my lovely mix. So take care where you put down the Prussian blue. I hope this gives you some insight into the use of my favorite Prussian blue.